Welcome back, and thank you so much for sticking with us. I promised you that the love doctor will be here when we return, and he is. I have with me in the studio Dr. Kolade Stephen Adeniyi. Good morning, sir. You're welcome.
Good morning, ma'am. But so by the way, I'm still doing the doctorate.
Yeah.
So that they don't change their mind about giving me the final certificate.
Okay, that probably works.
But yeah, doctorate is in the way.
Yeah, but you're a love doctor. So.
I don't know why people assume I'm a doctor of everything. It's just, and it's sort of pretty confusing.
Judge, the topic that we have today alone is enough to say that you are a love doctor. We're looking at heartbreaks, dealing with heartbreaks. I don't even know how to throw the first question. I guess I'll just let you, do your thing.
No, really. I think it's a concept of what we are very familiar with, especially in this part of the world. And thank God that we even made a popular song out of it, all thanks to Burna Boy, who's getting cheap credit for not paying. The concept of breakfast served. So you now determine whether it is served cold or it is served hot.
So tell us how it's served.
It can be hot or cold.
Or tell us how to receive it.
I think the cold breakfast is the worst.
Really?
Yeah, ice cold. Nah.
Someone sounds like he's speaking from experience. So, like I said, it's going to be the topic we will expunge through this month, and primarily, I think we should set the background. And of course, I come on air and I like to share real life experiences so that people can relate with and connect with topics easily. Yeah. So I was speaking recently to someone. I won't talk about that person's male or female, and the person in question was telling me about how he or she deserved more in life. Of course, speaking after a breakup,
yeah,
and that he or she has done so much, he or she has put in a lot and all of that, and that he or she didn't deserve that. So in that conversation, my next line of question was, okay, so if you don't deserve breakfast, then who does? Then she and he must.
Please don't keep our audience confused. Is it he or she?
No. Let's keep it.
I think that's a fair enough information. If you just tell us whether it's a he or a she,
let's just keep
we can run with that. We don't know who this individual is.
Okay, so let's just put the person up in the air. So the person now paused and I said, and I said, you are not, and which is something about human behavior. So one of the key questions we use as an attitude test for people is we ask these 3 key questions. Do you feel that life is fair to you? And I'm asking you now as a person. Is it simple yes or no?
Life no balance, guys.
So you say yes, right? Okay. Do you believe that good things happen to other people and not you?
Nah. Good things happen to me too.
So why do you say life is not balanced?
Because the fingers are not equal.
Yourself?
Anyway,
that's
please,
just
it's not about me actually. Don't do that, Josh. Don't do that. Don't.
That's just by the way.
Don't do that.
Then the third question I would say is, do you believe you have a right to be here as a person, or you deserve life as a person? So most of the time when I do that test, and the question is that when people answer yes to 2 or more of that question, that person apparently has a bad attitude. So which now brings me to what I was trying to talk about. So if other people deserve breakback and not you, that means your attitude is by itself wrong. So because whether or not we accept it, because we're human, there's consistent human relationship across board, this man and woman and the respective. There are times when relationship will go sour. There are times when decisions that we make, we find out is not even the best. There are times when our actions oftentimes will cause heartbreak, which is on that topic anyway, heartbreak or a love break. It's now determined by you as an individual. And I'm talking because, so on the way here I was speaking to a friend who has been, of course, in quotes, in a loveless marriage for a bit. And she's talking about taking an exit from the marriage. So that means the man is about to be served breakfast. So whether it's hot or cold, these things happen. Let's establish one thing. Heartbreak can happen to anybody. Anybody can be heartbroken. Anybody can come into a situation, either you put yourself there consciously or unconsciously. So what I would like to focus on today primarily is the fact that if it happens to you, you are not unique. And we've seen these conversations on social media and everywhere. And then lady will say, after all I've done for him. And then people will take on the lady and, what did you do for him? Right? And then the guy too will come and say, oh, after doing this and this and this much for her, she broke my heart. I said something the last time I was here, and I'm going to say it again. I personally believe that ladies better than men by design. We, and please prove me wrong, since you stand for, you speak for the ladies, at least a microcosm of the ladies who are probably watching us. The moment a guy is asking you out, the moment he's making the moves on you and is putting the moves before he toasts you, there is that strong inner conviction where you know whether or not this guy is the right person or not. You always know. But what do most women do? You convince yourself out of that knowing and tell yourself that I'll give it a shot. So one of the things I realize from when I have such conversations with people is that, number one, I try to establish a pattern. If you establish a pattern from you as a person, then it's easier for you to create a trajectory of how things will not happen a certain way. For example, I know certain ladies naturally, even though they don't accept, will date certain type of guys. And so even though I'm not here to watch my dating lineage in public, but I will use myself as an example. By design, I'm attracted to strong type women, type A alpha women. So I was having a conversation once some years back, and my boss at the time and I, who we apparently had gone to coaching class together and we're still going through our life coaching certification, asked this question. I said, have you ever asked why you are attracted to a certain type of woman? Because of course either the relationship weren't working or stuff. And I was justifying that, no, I'm a alpha man myself, blah, blah, blah. I said, no. He said, can you look deeper? I said, what was it like growing up? So it was at that point that I had an eureka moment, almost near tears, but I couldn't let my boss who was paying me salary see me cry, since men don't cry. And I moved away. So what was my story? My story was that, and I'm not saying this because I'm trying to say, because let's put it out there, I had a great upbringing, but I grew up to a father who beat my mom at the time. And apparently I saw a woman who was helpless. And I was, of course, a big mommy's boy. So subconsciously, before I dealt with that issue, I now began to project that lack of helplessness into women. So if I wanted to date a type of a lady, and I found out that she was either very needy or weak or something, I would normally cut the feeling out because I felt I don't want this sort of person in my life. But when I saw somebody who was in charge, who most times will end up bullying me, that worked. So that means a lot of us, oftentimes in life, we created patterns in our life that we are not mindful of. And if you don't know what the metrics and these patterns are, you now use them as metrics to pick partners, to date, to meet people, and make love and relationship choices. So when you now do that, what do you think will happen? Most of the time, the relationship will end in things that you don't want and you don't deserve. So the first place, of course, to now start for, of course, in the words of Aristotle, man know thyself, is that you need to first know yourself. Because if you are consistently being served breakfast from certain, then the first question is, what type of man or woman are you attracting? If you find out what type of man or woman you're attracting, the next question is this: what type of person are you? Then the third question is, what exactly do you need as a person? If my favorite food is yam, then I can't be eating cornflakes every morning. At some point, there would be something contradictory will happen and I won't be able to handle it. So you're now looking at it in the light of the fact that, who am I? So that, I think, is the first question people listening to us. And I like to use woman example because ladies are intuitive, so also are men. So when you know and I understand that, okay, so this is me, these are the types of people that come into my space, then you can relatively manage how to deal. If you are, for example, a lady who is damaged and is needy, or you've gone through, that's why I always say that we are never built in isolation of our upbringing. We were built from our upbringing. It's a consistent. A lady who grew up not having a non-present dad is immediately taught to feel by herself that she has to take care of herself. So this is the irony about most of those ladies, which is the perfect irony. They most times often find themselves dating men who oftentimes carry the same traits, character, patterns as the father they're trying to avoid. So if you want to be honest with yourself, then sit down, put a pen to paper, and I always say that I believe in the idea of thinking on a piece of paper and write out what are those patterns when you identify them. What did my mom do to my dad? What kind of relationship did I have with my siblings? All these things, they are not in isolation. They impact consistently and continuously on you in your love relationship, in your dating relationship. And of course, how you start, how you date determines how you end. Then that also would speak to people who are also in married relationships. You can get to a place in your relationship and you think that you are tired of your spouse. Then one of the best things I say is go back to the beginning.
Can we break it down a little further? Because I must say the truth here. And this is not the first time I'm hearing that, where you're coming from usually impacts your love relationship.
Yes, yes.
But I'd like to understand the mechanism, if I'm to use that word, behind it. Let's break it down. So if I had a non-present dad,
Yes, please.
a lot of times I would attract men who do not pay attention to me. Isn't it supposed to be the opposite? Yes, but a lot of times it's straight like that. Make me understand. How does it work?
I'll try and break it down to you in the simplest way. So this is it. The human subconscious. Know that there's human consciousness and human subconscious. The subconscious is the standard picture of the iceberg you see on top of the water, but the base is the bulk of it is at the bottom. So what you see is the consciousness. What you're seeing under is the subconscious. So let's use a standard computer as an example. So what runs the computer is not the keyboard that you type on. What runs the computer is what?
The motherboard.
The motherboard, the hard drive and all of that. That is what runs the computer.
CPU.
So the CPU, beautiful. But you see, it's made it even easier. So we now focus on the CPU and we forget everything that is down in the motherboard and in the CPU. Such that, for example, I'll give a classic example. If I ask you why you get angry, when you get angry, there's a pattern that you follow. That's what people don't know. So when you get angry, you squint your face, you squeeze your mouth. It's a pattern, it's a consistent. So the question you ask is, how did you get to be like that? Right? I'm a graduate of philosophy, so one of the things we did in school then, I'll never forget, we call it the law of the first cause. That means for you to say there is beauty, that's what we're taught, and there was something called the first beauty. So that beauty now spiraled and gave birth to other beauty that now became. So for you to be angry and react like that and have that certain gesticulation and body posture, there was the first time when that thing happened. So that thing we call in psychology your learning. So when it becomes your learning, it is the deeper programming. It's like a computer program. So you've run it for so long that you've known that this is how you want to do. So by default, when something happens, you will continue to respond the same way without thinking. So in a case where, like an absentee father, as it were, so this is what you find out. The child is consistently, most of the time, subconsciously blaming themselves and going, okay, my daddy is not around, maybe it's because of what my mother did. But the more they begin to have that self-conversation, they end up blaming themselves because they pulled themselves in. But because they don't understand that thing and they can't deal with it, they keep on growing up. And we're in an environment where people don't put a lot more to psychology, behavior, and they don't even really believe that children need psychological help in that context. So that child now begins to grow up, become a teenager, the teenager becomes an adult, and that learning that is there, that deep root of the iceberg becomes deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's bigger. So what people are seeing, what the person is seeing at the immediate, oh, he's breaking up with me, she's breaking up with me, when there are deeper things under that you need to fix, because these things are fixable, which is one of the things we deal with in what we call NLP, and that's not next level prayer, by the way, is neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
So the programming will say, one of the things we do with neuro-linguistic programming is that we know that there is a neural pathway in the human brain. And the easiest way to break it down is this. Every time you see a footpath, what happens when you keep on walking on the footpath is there. Yeah? So, but the moment you leave the footpath for say about 2 weeks, what happens? Green grass grows there, right? So what you now need to do to create another footpath is to what? Is to walk another path consistently. So that is what people in that context, I don't know whether I'm answering your question now, need to do. You now need to understand that your programming that you've learned is a lot. You now need to spend at least a minimum 60 days and chart another course so that you can begin to reprogram and create another program that you will start to run on an individual that begins to now determine how you react, how you respond, so that it will change your perspective. You don't change a man in a relationship. You don't attract different kind of person behaving the same way. Like they say in the words of Albert Einstein, that a problem is not solved at the level it is started. That means, in simple terms, that you don't keep on doing the same thing and expect a different result. So that means the best thing to do is to create another pathway, a different neurological pathway that is different than that way.
Now, let me ask you a question, because you've spoken a whole lot about this issue. Now, let's try to narrow it down now.
Okay.
I'm taking it from where my colleague dropped off. Now, the issue is, for every single parent, either a single mom or a single dad, leaves the child broken.
Most of the time.
So, are you saying here that we should be wary of these persons who might, for some very obvious reason that is totally out of their control, find themselves a broken child, whether a guy or a lady, just so that we don't have this kind of occurrence in our relationship? Okay.
So if I say it is about a single parent, that would be unfair, because I've seen single parents who've raised very good children, right? But so this is the way I come. Let me set that record straight. And I've said this even on a number of other platforms that I've been on. So I'm speaking myself, I personally don't have respect for mothers who come on Father's Day and say, yes, I celebrate myself for being a father to my child.
Say that again.
I celebrate myself for being a father, for taking responsibility for my child and doing everything.
As a woman.
No, you said you don't have respect.
I personally don't.
Okay.
I personally don't, and I will give you my reasons why. And I know I said it's a personal thing. Everybody is created with two genders. You are either feminine or masculine, and all of us come with that part. It is the feminine part of a man that makes him break down in tears when he's heartbroken. It is the masculine side of a woman that makes her take responsibility for things and show power when the child is in danger. So that means that every child needs a balance of a masculine nature and a feminine nature to grow. You as a woman cannot give everything to that child. So what I tell people who are close to me when they ask my opinion is this: even if you're a single parent, either a father or a mother, the best you can do if you're a father is this: get somebody in the life of your child who represents a father figure. Either it's your dad, either it's an uncle, someone that is consistent and it's there. Because every child needs that balance. And the same thing for single fathers too. You need that balance. Otherwise, you will think that you are doing the best from your child, only end up that bulk of the time, you will end up affecting the psychology and the grow up and the psychological makeup and growth of the child. Which is in the fact that it is the problem the child will have, they probably do not know. Because don't forget that these children go to school with other kids who are fathers and mother who have a seemingly stable home. Then we have also seen stable homes where you have father and mother, but those parents and those relationships are damaged, where a lot of abusive things happen, and the father by himself is actually even affecting the life of the children. So it is not exclusive, it is not solely exclusive to children from single homes. I'm saying that it is most likely.
Now, you know why I'm asking this?
I'm aware, sir.
You know why I'm asking this?
Okay, no, I don't know why, but...
Okay, why I'm asking this is because, let's take, for instance, a lady who came from a broken home.
Yes, sir.
For instance, there was no father figure while growing up, or the father was irresponsible, perhaps beating the mom every now and then. This woman, subconsciously, as you painted, might develop that attitude of not respecting guys. That's why I said for every broken home lives a broken child.
I agree with you.
Would it be healthy for a guy to run into that woman?
Okay, so...
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get where you're coming from. So that's lady in question. When she gets to a place where she does not respect guy, it is now what we call in psychology, she has developed a coping mechanism. A coping mechanism does not mean that you are dealing with the issue. It does mean that you have created a way where you can deny, shut, or relegate that feeling or that emotion. But does not mean that that emotion is not there. that emotion is there, it's real, it's working. So in the instance you gave, a woman that doesn't respect man, so the best question is this: what does the man himself have to do to reassure the woman that she can be respected, or that he is worthy of respect? Because okay, a woman who's been taking care of herself, paid her bills, when you're dating her, she's not asking you for anything. You too, as a man, the only thing you are doing every morning is good morning. Have you eat, or have you sleep? No. When there are a lot more significant questions that you can ask.
Sure.
Because for that sort of lady, you know that a lady you are dating who is a standard type and is doing stuff, what she wants you to do, what message she wants you to send to her is to say that whatever it is I am, you're in it with me. If you don't have money, give me support, whatever way. And then at that point, women naturally like. I've never seen a woman who doesn't like a gift. I've never seen one. If you can give me one today, I'll be happy. I've never seen one. So even in what you have and what she has, there are things you can do that the lady will appreciate also. So that means at that point now, you are looking at the balance between emotion, feelings, and reality. So you now want to tell yourself that if this lady is the one I want to spend the rest of my life with, what sort of conversation should I be having? That is why people date. Dating is not just a fine restaurant, a good meal, holding hand, walking on the beach, and of course I will watch the movie and do a lot of chick flick and all that. It is sitting down to have the seemingly hard conversation with the man and the woman. Most of the time, of course, I'm not saying start to date me today and call me tomorrow and say, hey, tell me about your family problem. Literally, no. Yeah, but I'm saying build up to a place that the person feels comfortable enough to open up, find out when the person talks, find out the language of the person so that you know how they listen. For example, I'll use myself as an example. It took me a long time to learn to be a patient person because I learned to juggle like a billion things in my head. So if you're talking to me, except when in a coaching session, I want you to just go straight to the point. But because I'm a coach and I do psychology, I can't rush the process. So those times, I'm forced to sit down and listen to every. So most of the times, I'm even forced to remind you and refer you back and say, what do you mean? Can you shed a bit more light on this? Okay, can you give me a bit of clarity? Meaning, I am forced to work out what I think is character. And I think that what that has also helped me to do in my practice as a management consultant and as a coach is taught me the ability to learn to do one thing that I didn't learn in life, which is to listen. And I tell people this, which is funny, which is another thing that people also need to do in relationship. Do you notice that most of the time when you talk to people, when you are dating, let me tell you what happens. They don't listen to you to hear you. Especially when there is fight, they are listening to you to reply you. Two different things.
Okay, the conversation is getting actually I've heard that before. In fact, it was going to be my next question, but then we're out of time.
Wow.
It's a beautiful thing that this is going to be a series, so we get to have the conversations. And I am more interested in that part where somebody is heartbroken and they're sitting under the rain and they are not feeling the rain, like their head is hot.
In this Nigeria.
Oh, you've not seen those? Don't worry. Oh, we'll get to talk about it.
Maybe you share the story, but not.
But that's like an example. Yeah, I'm just saying, the effect that comes with, hello, I don't think this is working. I think we need to break it off, and somebody's life comes to an end.
Oh, I've been. Excuse me, I've been there.
Good. That means you give us a life example.
Why should you give me my life example? Why can't you be your own life example at this point?
All right, thank you so much, Dr.
Kolade,
for coming on the show this morning. It's usually always a delight to have you. So we'll do this again next Thursday.
Definitely.
We'll continue on how to deal with heartbreaks. iBrandTV Daybreak. This is where we draw the curtain. Josh, do you have anything for our viewers?
Well, it's been impactful anyway. So based on what he just said, you need to understand what works for you. It's not casted on stone to say that, well, because you might be coming from that angle of being in
there's always space for a change.
Oh yes, work on yourself, like you said, 60 days.
Yes,
to undo that programming.
Program yourself.
2 months. All right, do you have 2 months to spare? Do you have 2 months for yourself to chart a new path that might lead you to better positivity? You want to consider that. iBrandTV Daybreak will return, but it will be tomorrow at 8 a.m. Until then, stay positive, be a good Nigerian. My name is Uche Zoe.
My name is Joshua Okata, and all you do, keep watching iBrandTV. See you tomorrow.